we're not going to go crazy. And in fact, there's not a lot of information available out there on this movie.
I can't wait to find. Okay, and I'm excited to hear what other things the studio created, because I want to see if they're also insulting.
So, if you haven't seen The Page Master, it's a live action animation hybrid. Well, maybe, but that's even misleading. It starts as live action, transitions to animation. It's mostly animation, then it goes back to live action.
Wrap around.
The animation was done by Turner Feature Animation. Now, I love the history of movie studios trying to start a new animation studio. There's lots of aborted attempts at this.
It seems really hard.
It is very hard. There was some success in the late 80s, early 90s with Don Bluth Studio and their partnership with Amblin and Steven Spielberg. They made An American Tail and The Land Before Time. Some of the people who worked...
Which I love, Land Before Time.
On those movies were involved in this movie. But this movie was an attempt by Turner Feature Animation, by Turner Studios, which had recently acquired Hanna-Barbera and then spun off their feature animation division into this new animation studio, Turner Feature Animation.
I even said Hanna-Barbera, didn't I?
You did. You did. Hanna-Barbera Feature Animation had made Jetsons the movie and Once Upon a Forest.
Yeah, also one I love.
Yeah?
It made me cry, but I'll bet it's not great.
I'm kind of... I have Jetsons the movie as a possibility of us covering.
We watched that together, too.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. Just on a date night.
This is because that really induces the blowjobs.
I was like, you're as pretty as Judy Jetson.
And then I sang a Tiffany song to you.
Yeah, and you called me Cosmic Cosmo. So, yeah, they're trying to get this studio up and running, and The Page Master is going to be their big hit. Going to get Macaulay Culkin in the live action. We're going to get a live action director in Joe Johnston, and this will push us up into the stratosphere. It doesn't work. The Page Master is a big flop. They only produce one other movie, one other feature called Cats Don't Dance. I've never seen it.
And who can forget? They also don't act.
And then Turner was...
That little girl. It looks like Angelica or something. There's something very familiar about that mean girl sitting on top of that cat.
And the design of that big, like, Frankenstein guy.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
But I've never seen it.
I can't say I have.
Yeah, okay. Turner Feature Animation. Turner is bought by Warner Brothers in 1996, and then Turner Animation just gets folded into Warner Brothers. So this was a big flop. This is yet another entry in another studio trying to create an animation unit that competes with Disney. It doesn't. Nobody ever has sustained success until DreamWorks in the 2000s.
What's an animated movie from this time? Oh, jump scare. What's an animated movie from this time that you would vouch for now, that you know is good? Don't say Fantasia. Don't say anything Disney, please. I need something that doesn't have Disney bucks.
From the 90s before.
Like Fern Gully is something that comes to mind. Land Before Time.
I mean, I haven't seen
Rescuers Down Under.
That's Disney. I haven't seen Land Before Time or Fern Gully since I was a kid. I did watch, the Don Bluth stuff I'm sure holds up. I watched Secret of NIMH. Now that's from the early 80s, but I watched it but it's like you watch it today and it's like, this is a very pretty and impressive animated movie that's kind of boring, and I can't see kids liking it.
I guess what I'm looking for is something that holds up with a good story that doesn't treat children dumb. And maybe I do have to look to Disney for that. No
American animation, and I'm sure people are mad because there's stuff I'm not thinking of, but I would say it's in Japan. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's in other countries.
Because here, I think I'm very right about the way I feel about this movie, and I think I'm going to get pushback, and that's fine. That's what this is. That's what makes this interesting. But I think some of the pushback will be like, well, but it's a kid's movie, and what do it was a different time. It's like, that's not there were kid things that treated kids, that were written from the perspective of kids, that took them seriously as people. And I feel like this movie was meant to just be rewatched over and over again by lesser developed children, so that they could then defend this movie until their adulthood. Lesser developed meaning younger children. Okay. Sorry.
Like subhumans.
No. Just younger children who have less like fully formed identity and stuff so far. They're, between 4 and 6. Just... this is the kind of movie that can definitely become very comforting and just attach and graft to you, and then for the rest of your life you're like, no, the Page Master's fucking awesome, and it's like, if you've never seen it before and now you're 40, is it?
Right. And you bring up a good point. You could say it's for kids, but there's high quality kids entertainment
Yes.
and there's low quality kids
Yes.
entertainment. And this isn't the worst kids movie I've ever seen.
It's not. But like, okay, maybe the animated Robin Hood is a good example. I did watch that one a lot. Is it because I was a certain young age and didn't have high taste? Because I think I could watch it now and be entertained. Is it okay? All right. Because you've seen it more recently than me. I just wish I had a good example at my fingertips. Kid and King, there was a King Arthur movie.
The Sword,
The Sword of Stone. I remember that being good too. But
So you're
does it all shit?
You're literally just naming animated movies now?
I'm trying to have a defense ready for no, I do not shit on all animation and not all animation from that time, certainly. And not all, and I can also even make the caveat that non-Disney movies are capable of having a smart script and not just be cute and sweet.
I mean, certainly the Disney Renaissance movies from this era, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Lion King, Aladdin, Hunchback of Notre Dame, they're
Yes.
all, you watch them today, they're great.
Emperor's New
They're
Groove
great
even.
and Lilo and Stitch, all the Pixar, Toy Story 1 and 2, A Bug's Life, Monsters Inc. from this era.
All written with the idea that kids can understand things, complicated things.
All of these movies, though, I kind of put in the category of family movies.
That's only
whereas this
because
is-
they got good. But don't you think that a movie that is actually fully forming something that makes sense and someone could, I mean, okay, just what you really need is a character that a kid can relate to, like the Brave Little Toaster. I remember really relating to the toaster. And I'm sure that is probably harder to watch than I think now, but it at least like lets you deal with stuff that made sense, like real fear. Where this kid says he's scared, nothing looks very scary, and he doesn't seem scared. He just says it.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't even buy into its own themes, this movie. That's why it feels vapid.
Yeah. And it being, 25 minutes of live action and then 50 minutes of animation also hurts it. If this were a 75-minute animated movie and you invest all the resources into that, it's probably way more fully realized. But these are like two live action filmmaking and animation. They're two entirely different mediums. So yeah, of course you're going to be divided.
You're hitting on something very important there. Yep. It seemed like a gimmick. To switch it up seemed like a gimmick and cost savings because you're not animating the front and the back end.
And this isn't, because this movie was $35 million, which is not for a fully produced animated movie. That's not like top of the line budget. It seems under, but I don't know.
Do you think it's a waste of Christopher Lloyd's facial abilities and Macaulay Culkin's cuteness that it wouldn't be capitalizing on using those two big stars if you didn't have some non-animated moments?
I do.
I think Christopher Lloyd has made such an impact in person where he really had like Jafar vibes once he was animated. And it didn't help that he had the same body type as him, but like his grandiosity just all of a sudden seemed something I've seen before, where when you just see his eyes and his face.
Just one more thing about like kids entertainment versus family. You might say like, well, it seems like if you call something a kids movie, that basically means you're saying it's shitty. And if it's good, it's family.
Right.
But there's good kids entertainment. Our son right now is very into Bluey. Bluey's for kids. Bluey's great.
So good.
So there's just one example. Like you can make something that obviously is intended for kids, but parents can watch and be like, this is pretty good. This is pretty smart. And there's jokes in there for mom and dad. We're laughing. We're having a good time.
But when those are there, how does that not turn it into family entertainment?
You could reasonably say an adult could go to see Beauty and the Beast on a date night. You couldn't.
What? By themselves?
Yeah.
No, you could
We've
not.
gone to see Pixar movies by ourselves.
After Pixar had like proven its worth.
No, especially at the time, it's got the top of the line Broadway talent. You've got
Angela Lansbury.
Howard Ashman. You've got Alan Menken. All these legends. So it certainly seems like there's an adult audience for it.
All right. You know adults. I'm wearing a giant Batman shirt like a fucking idiot.
The animation director of The Pagemaster is a man named Pishoshe Hunt. In the movie, he's credited as Maurice Hunt. He worked for Disney in the 1980s. He was an animator on The Black Cauldron. He directed The Pagemaster. He directed a sequence in Fantasia 2000. I watched that sequence earlier today. It looks beautiful. The Pagemaster looks like shit. Sorry, Mr. Hunt. And he has since gone on to have a long career as an art director in animation. Now, the live action director of The Pagemaster is Joe Johnston. We've covered 2 of his movies in the past, Jumanji and Jurassic Park 3. And I think we're going to be doing an episode on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids because that's the Lacey movie.
Yes.
But he started as a visual effects artist, including on the Star Wars movies. He co-designed Boba Fett. He won a visual effects Oscar for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then he directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Rocketeer, later directed Captain America, The First Avenger. He's had a very successful live action career.
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin.
He's so cute. Look
We
at him.
refer you again to our Richie Rich episode where we have a long discussion about him and how his run at the top was much shorter than you remember. And in fact, kind of outside of the Home Alone movies, nothing is so he breaks out in Uncle Buck in 1989. Home Alone is a giant movie in 1990. He has My Girl in 1991, Home Alone 2, 1992, The Good Son in 1993. And that's kind of it. Because in 1994, he releases 3 movies, Getting Even with Dad, The Pagemaster, and Richie Rich, all flops. And at that point, he retires. And
The juxtaposition of the 2 photos you picked to express him in these moments, they hurt. They hurt.
This is him as a man in his 30s singing a song with his band, the Pizza Underground. What's his band called? I don't know.
That's an unfortunate name considering Comic Pizza.
Oh, that's true. I might have it wrong. It's something. The Pizza Explosion. Let me look this up. Let me go.
Oh, that you'll Google, but you won't tell me what other movies that man's
Because that's
been
a
in.
much harder thing to do.
I mean, I liked Getting Even with Dad, and I loved Richie Rich.
The Pizza Underground. Yeah, it is an unfortunate name.
Comet Ping Pong.
That's right.
Comet. Okay, I'd be mad at myself if I didn't get that out my mouth correctly.
Yeah, Richie Rich, you can tell he is totally checked out over this fame thing, and the cuteness had worn off. And
Right.
I mean, he was the biggest child star in a long time.
Shit takes its toll.
Yep. And
Didn't he have some? I mean, I'm sure, but need some therapy, have some addiction stuff.
I think he's probably fine. Well, I don't know.
I think he's fine now.
I don't want to speculate.
Oh, let's not.
Okay. All right. You looking forward to talking about the movie
We're
in
done?
great detail? Yeah.
We're already here?
We're here.
Okay, I can't wait to look cuter tomorrow.